The galaxy had always underestimated humanity. Our colonies were scattered across star systems, our fleets modest, our ambitions quiet. For centuries, humans worked silently, building thriving worlds under alien noses, trading quietly with friendly species, and dreaming of the stars. We were peaceful, prosperous, and, most importantly, ignored. That ignorance was about to end in fire. It began with the silence. At first, it was subtle. Messages from the colony on Epsilon Prime were delayed by hours, then days. Communication from Delta V12 went missing entirely. The Galactic Council dismissed it as a simple technical problem, a network failure in the outer sectors. But humans know patterns, and when patterns break, we notice. The traders and scouts sent to check discovered something horrifying. The colonies were gone. Not just empty, destroyed. Planets leveled, cities vaporized, oceans boiled away. Satellites and space stations were shredded into fragments. Only a few scattered survivors remained, broadcasting messages that froze even the hardiest officer in Earth Command. "Tell Earth. They're coming," a trembling voice said, before the connection died. Admiral Sarah Cade stared at the holoscreen, her jaw tight. The data was irrefutable. The Vrak Dominion, a species long considered powerful, cruel, and unchallenged, had launched an extermination campaign against humanity's outer colonies. And they had done it without warning. The once quiet human outposts had been treated as nothing more than dust in the wind, and now the galaxy would see what happens when dust rises. The council chamber on Earth was a mess of panic and indecision. Ambassadors whispered, fingers tapping nervously on glass tables. The head of the Galactic Council spoke with calm words, but his eyes betrayed him. "We advise restraint," he said. Retaliation now could start a full-scale war. "Better to negotiate," Cade shook her head. "Negotiation? They burned our children. They erased our worlds. There is no negotiation. There is only response." Her words echoed in the chamber like a drumbeat, slow and steady, awakening a truth everyone knew but feared. Humanity could not be underestimated. Not now. Not ever. Earth had been prepared quietly. For centuries, hidden fleets, secret research facilities, and stockpiles of weapons were maintained under the guise of peaceful expansion. The Erebus Protocol, a plan so extreme it was whispered about in classified archives, was activated. It allowed Earth to mobilize an entire defensive fleet, far beyond what anyone expected from a species supposedly primitive. Cade gave the order. Every shipyard at full production, every capable vessel armed and ready. Humanity would no longer wait to be hunted. The first strike was small, surgical, and precise. A flotilla of scout frigates and corvettes slipped past Vrake sensors, approaching a key orbital station near the destroyed colony of Delta V12. The aliens believed their dominance absolute. Their confidence was their weakness. The humans attacked with unorthodox tactics. Gravity wells were manipulated to crush enemy ships. Debris fields were weaponized to create traps. And AI systems hacked enemy targeting protocols mid-battle. 10 Vrek ships tried to intercept the human fleet. Only 2 survived, drifting uselessly through the void. Their crews shattered and their pride burned. On the hull of the captured station, humans had left a simple message. Etched into the alloy and plasma, Earth remembers. News of the counterstrike spread faster than light through human networks, and soon it reached the Galactic Council. Observers watched, wide-eyed, as human ships seemingly vanished into uncharted regions of space, returning only to strike where least expected. Humanity had become a ghost fleet, moving silently, calculating carefully, striking decisively. Cade knew that the first victory was only the beginning. The Vrak believed they had won, that humanity would retreat into despair, broken by the loss of our colonies. But humans do not break so easily. We adapt, we endure, we retaliate. Earth's population, watching the transmissions from the front lines, felt a quiet satisfaction grow. They had been told their species was weak, that diplomacy and caution were humanity's only options. Now every home, every school, every lab echoed with a simple, fiery truth. Humans do not forgive easily. In the cold reaches of space, Cade convened with her lieutenants aboard the flagship Sol's Dawn. The bridge hummed with tension, the soft blue glow of the controls reflecting in their determined eyes. "We cannot afford mistakes," Cade said. "We are outnumbered, yes, but the Vrek rely on arrogance and predictability. We have neither. They think they understand war. They will learn they do not understand humans. The officers nodded. Plans were drawn for simultaneous strikes, diversions, and ambushes. Every human vessel carried protocols for adaptability. Every captain knew the fleet's strength, our minds, our tactics, our willingness to push past fear. The humans were coming, and the Vrike would not know from which direction the next blow would fall. Meanwhile, intelligence networks across Earth and its hidden colonies began analyzing every known Vrike pattern. Humans studied the alien fleets, noting weaknesses in their formations, habits in their targeting sequences, even cultural tendencies that affected their military decisions. Knowledge became the weapon as sharp as any plasma cannon, as lethal as any torpedo. The first skirmishes were brutal but swift. Human pilots flew in formations that seemed chaotic, only to reveal precise, devastating strategies mid-engagement. They lured Vrike ships into asteroid fields using the terrain of space as a weapon. They jammed sensors, scrambled communications, and forced the enemy to adapt at a pace they could not maintain. The galaxy's supposedly greatest warriors found themselves defeated by humans with less firepower, but more cunning. Back on Earth, civilians watched the battle feeds in awe and fear. They did not cheer for bloodlust. They cheered for survival, for ingenuity, for the undeniable proof that humanity was not prey. Children watched as human ships executed maneuvers impossible in simulation, and scientists recalculated theories of space combat. Humanity was rising from the ashes of destruction, not as a victim, but as a storm no one had predicted. The Vrike, confident in their superiority, believed that a single, overwhelming strike would crush human resistance. They were wrong. They had underestimated the resilience, the ingenuity, and the unyielding spirit of a species they thought fragile. Every human victory, no matter how small, carried a weight of history, centuries of being ignored, dismissed, and insulted. Humanity had waited, watched, and learned. Now it acted. As Part 1 drew to a close, Cade stood on the bridge of the Soul's Dawn looking at the void ahead. The stars seemed colder, emptier, yet brighter. Humanity's fleets were scattered across space, hidden among asteroids, behind dead moons, and within nebulae. Each ship carried a promise, a warning. Those who destroyed our colonies would pay, and the galaxy would remember the cost. Cade's voice was calm, almost quiet, but every officer on the bridge heard the steel in it. They wanted us gone. They will wish they had never found us. The galaxy watched, unaware that a storm was gathering in the darkness. Humanity was no longer just surviving. Humanity was rising, and when we struck, the stars themselves would burn with the memory of our vengeance. The silence after the first human strikes had fooled the galaxy. Many believed humanity would retreat, licking wounds and hiding. But Earth's fleets had vanished into the uncharted void, not to flee but to prepare. Hidden among the dead zones of mapped space, humans rebuilt, upgraded, and strategized. Ships that had once been outclassed by alien fleets were now reborn. Faster, stronger, smarter, and silent. They waited in darkness, patient as the hunters had once been, now becoming the predators. Admiral Sarah Cade paced the bridge of the Soul's Dawn, her eyes scanning holoscreens filled with star maps, enemy positions, and fleet readiness reports. The Vrike Dominion had grown arrogant, believing the destruction of human colonies meant victory. They did not realize that in every corner of space humanity had left survivors. Engineers, soldiers, and scientists who had learned, adapted, and evolved. "Status," Cade asked, her voice steady. "Fleet's ready, Admiral. All AI protocols active. Targeting and attack vectors calculated," said Lieutenant Aaron, his fingers flying over the control console. "We can strike any point in Vrike territory within hours." Cade nodded. "Then let's remind them what happens when they make a mistake." The first human strikes were surgical, precise, and terrifying. Vrike outposts vanished without warning. Entire fleets were disabled before they could even fire. Human tactics had evolved beyond traditional combat. Battles were fought in 3 dimensions, with maneuvers that alien navies could not predict. Gravity wells became traps, debris fields became weapons, and AI-driven ships adapted mid-battle in ways that no enemy captain could comprehend. But it was not just military skill that terrified the galaxy. Humans broadcast every victory not as boast but as a statement. Holographic messages of destroyed fleets, shattered stations, and vaporized planets reached the Galactic Council. Each broadcast ended with the same chilling phrase, "This is what happens when you erase humanity." The Vrike Dominion panicked. Their diplomats, once arrogant, now scrambled to negotiate. Fleets that had once laughed at human ships found themselves cornered and outmaneuvered. Still, Cade did not seek surrender. She did not seek allies. She sought deterrence, a lesson written in fire and fear. Humanity would not be ignored again. Meanwhile, across Earth, the people watched these transmissions with awe. They did not cheer for blood. They cheered for survival. They cheered for ingenuity, for courage, and for the undeniable proof that humanity had risen. Scientists marveled at the fleet's AI adaptations. Children drew pictures of the starships in glowing crayon lines. Civilians everywhere felt a fierce pride. Their species had endured destruction and now struck back with brilliance. Months passed, and human fleets struck deeper into Vrake space. The aliens had no time to regroup. Every tactic they tried was countered, every plan anticipated. Human commanders exploited arrogance and predictability, turning it against the enemy with devastating precision. Entire battle groups vanished, leaving only wreckage as testimony to human ingenuity. The Galactic Council convened emergency meetings. The humans had crossed lines no one believed they would cross. Some argued for peace, some for containment, but no one knew what to do. Humanity had become a force beyond control. They did not seek war for territory or conquest. They sought justice, balance, and survival. And the galaxy could feel it. Cade's ultimate goal was the Vrake homeworld. Every strike, every ambush, every destroyed fleet had led to this. But the final assault would not be reckless. It would be precise, devastating, and total. The Soul's Wrath, a ship powered by an artificial singularity, was the spearhead. Cade gathered her fleet for a final briefing. "We do not fight for revenge alone," she said. "We fight so that no human colony will ever be erased again. This is not war. This is justice. Today we end the Vrake Dominion's arrogance." Her officers nodded. They understood the weight of history, of loss, and of pride. The human fleets moved in formation, invisible to sensors, silent as shadows in the void. They were ghosts, harbingers of the storm the galaxy had ignored for too long. The Vrake homeworld's defenses were immense. Planetary shields, orbital weapon platforms, and thousands of warships waited, confident in their superiority. They saw humans coming and thought themselves ready. They were not. The battle began with human ships striking simultaneously from multiple vectors. Ships warped through space, appearing behind enemy lines in seconds. Torpedoes struck stations before sensors could react. Gravity wells crushed entire fleets in moments. AI commanders adapted to every countermeasure instantly, predicting movements with terrifying accuracy. The Vrake had never faced opponents like this, opponents who could learn faster than they could fire. As the battle raged, the Vrake Chancellor transmitted a desperate plea for parley. Cade listened silently, her eyes on the battlefield. Finally, she spoke to her crew, not the Chancellor. "We offered mercy when they burned our children," she said, voice calm and cold. "Now we offer silence." The Soul's Wrath activated its singularity drive. In a brilliant, blinding flash, the Vrake homeworld and its orbital fleet ceased to exist. Even the Galactic Council, watching from afar, could not comprehend the scale. A single ship piloted by humans had ended an empire. The aftermath was quiet. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would not forget. Human fleets withdrew, not in retreat, but in deliberate absence. They had achieved their goal. The Vrake Dominion was no more. Other alien empires began to treat humanity with caution, respect, even fear. Humans did not gloat. They did not conquer. They simply returned to the shadows, leaving the galaxy forever changed. Back on Earth, celebrations were subdued but heartfelt. Humanity had risen from ashes, and every citizen understood that survival had required brilliance, courage, and unity. Scientists and engineers returned to their labs. Children played under the stars, and soldiers cleaned and repaired their ships. Life continued, but the knowledge of power remained. Humanity had proven that it could not be ignored. Admiral Cade stood on the deck of Sol's Dawn, looking at the stars. She knew this was not the end. Humanity would expand again, learn again, and prepare again. But for now, the galaxy had remembered the human strength, and that memory was enough. Her final message to the Galactic Council was simple. Remember this day. Remember what happens when you erase humanity, because we will always erase you back. And with that, humanity vanished from the front lines, leaving the galaxy to wonder where we would strike next, and whether anyone would ever dare to challenge us again. The stars, once silent witnesses to human suffering, now bore witness to human brilliance. Humanity had fallen, risen, and reminded the universe that we were not to be ignored. The ashes of humanity had become the flame of humanity, burning brighter than any star.